Hello and welcome to the Dave C Show. Tonight I have Michelle Fielding, who is a spiritual coach, and she's pretty much a powerhouse and a leader in the truth movement as well. So welcome to Michelle. How are you?
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm really well. How are you going?
So, this morning I was a little bit shocked to see that Ivanka Trump has been having her.
Yeah, I saw that
Uh,
too.
so, somebody asked me what's going on with that, and I quickly just did a note before I came on to see you actually.
Right.
And what they were saying was that Ivanka Trump was just showing symbolically that her father had got a vaccine to market quickly for those who want it,
Mm-hmm.
but that hers was actually benign and probably just saline. There was probably nothing in it.
Okay.
And the reason that they're showing that today is that they're trying to placate the Democrats so that they reduce any backlash when they realize that Trump's been the winner all along.
Okay.
And that everything that's playing out right now is to show the Democrats that Trump was actually doing a lot of good, and it's hard for them to deny it when Ivanka herself is actually having a vaccination.
Right.
So that they're kind of playing a little bit of a, it's not real what's going on. She's not really having a vaccination.
It was
But
difficult
but
to
she's
see,
just trying to
you
show
know.
the Democrats, my dad got the vaccination out quickly. And so, when you're saying bad things about him, it's difficult for them to say something bad when he did actually get the vaccination ready for those people who want it.
Mhm.
Because,
Sure.
David, a lot of people actually want a vaccination. So if
Yeah.
there hadn't been a vaccination ready, then they would have
Yeah.
been blaming him for not having something ready. So it's quite a clever twist, I think.
Yeah. There were so many things going through my head when I first saw that. I mean, and
Yeah. What
obviously
did
it
you
is a
think?
Well, initially I was like, well, that's a bit weird. It seems a bit dodgy. But then I thought about it more and I thought, well, what if she's taking it, like you said, not the actual one, because you couldn't even see anything. Like the two
No,
photos she released, you couldn't tell that she got it at all.
no, no.
And so I was thinking, what if she gets it and all of a sudden she has like a bad reaction, like
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, wow. That's
because
another way to look at it.
as you
Yeah.
know, there are many out there, many versions out there.
Yeah.
Some are like you say benign, some are obviously creating a lot of havoc out there. And actually, my cousin's mother-in-law actually got one, and she collapsed into a coma 2 days later and was in the ICU for 4 days. So
Wow.
that's really close to home. I haven't met the woman because they live in
Yeah.
Singapore, but and my auntie also knows somebody who died. So this is not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. There's a lot of people having some really terrible reactions out there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
where I'm going with this is I was thinking, well, maybe she was wanting to deter people. So maybe she gets it and then she has a bad reaction. And then it highlights the severity of what could happen. That was maybe where I was thinking.
Yeah, that could be another possibility. I didn't get that this morning, but as we know, this whole storyline is very multi-layered. A bit
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the when people keep asking me about the vaccines, when I come in from my viewpoint as a channeler, they've always told me it is just a storyline to wake people up,
Mm,
and that where they've been able to intercept those bad ones, that they have done that, and that mostly what's going out is just a flu vaccine.
sure.
So until we obviously get the statistics back over a period of time, we're not really sure what the story is and who's getting what and what those reactions might be too. Because, even with a normal kind of flu vaccination, we do have people each year that do have reactions to those. So it's very confusing when we've got so many companies, so many countries, so many continents, and so many different agendas going on to have a precise story of what's going on the ground. But they've always told me in the bigger picture that most of that is benign. So when I
Right.
say benign, I mean that it's probably just a flu vaccine that people might have just had every year generally.
Sure.
But the reason we might be seeing the figures going up with reactions is because we're obviously vaccinating much more, a bigger number of people now. So obviously
That's what I said.
the
Yeah.
quantity is going to look bigger because we're
Sure.
vaccinating that many more.
Yeah.
Because normally I would imagine in a normal winter, you would only vaccinate the elderly or people that are, vulnerable. But now we're kind of going into this trying to vaccinate absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that if you're vaccinating more people, you're going to have a reaction from more people.
Mm.
People can react to a peanut. So,
Yeah.
it
I'm
doesn't
allergic to
seem,
nuts. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't seem unrealistic to me that
No.
somebody who was quite sensitive to things could have a reaction to a flu vaccination.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that those really bad mRNA ones have been siphoned off. I think the military were put into position to try and take those out, any bad ones out. But I
Hmm.
think we'll just have to wait and see over time why those people in your family, etc., are having those reactions. Because it doesn't fit with what I've always been told, which is that they're just normal flu
Yeah.
vaccinations, and that the storyline is a fear storyline to get people to wake up, and that the vaccination passports and things like that will never actually become mandatory.
Hmm.
And all that being said is just another ploy to get people to stand up for themselves, to say, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because here in Australia, we've been our PM said that the plan was to do everybody by October, and then literally the next day he said, I don't think we're going to make everybody by December. So he's already flipped to 2 months. But then literally a few days later, the health minister came out and said, yeah, even if you do get it, you're probably not going to be able to travel to 2024 internationally. And I'm like, well, what's the point? Most people my age, most people, young people, are going to get it because they can travel, so they can travel. But if you're going
Yeah,
to if you're going to
yeah.
take that away, then there's no incentive at all to get it. So I
This
think
is
it's
exactly how I feel. I feel like that as well. What is the point in having something where you still have to wear a mask, where you
mm,
still can't leave your house and socialize, where you still have to keep your distance, where
yeah,
they're still saying you could still get this thing,
yeah,
and then the ultimate carrot, which is to go on holiday and take a plane somewhere nice and warm. Uh, you can't do that either. So I
no,
don't understand why
it's
why people
falling
can't
apart.
see.
Like
Yeah, the whole
like the
storyline
whole
just doesn't.
story is the narrative is just falling
Yeah.
apart. And I think I can't help but think that it's like it's falling apart on purpose. You know what I mean? Like not from the bad guy's perspective, but like you say, that operationally the white hats are in control. So I'm thinking that yes, they're putting this stuff out there and they're making people wake up to the fact that, well, that was the plan all along. It was for you to get this thing and not have any of your rights back anyway. So for them to come out and say that, well, we're not going to give you travel, it just
Yeah.
confirms it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the whole muddled story is deliberately put there to make these people that aren't questioning to, start questioning. Because even the most asleep person must be thinking, well, one week they're telling us we can travel, then the next week they're saying we can't. And had severe lockdowns in the UK. We're only
Mm,
just slightly opening up again now. But my feeling is that if something drastic doesn't happen soon with the people saying no, they might actually try and lock us down again all summer, so we'll be following exactly the same pattern as we did
that's
last year.
crazy though.
Yeah.
In
So,
summer,
we could
when
end up
it's
May and
that,
June locked in again.
you
Yeah.
reckon? You think that might happen?
It's a possibility. Yeah.
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 It's really scary to think of because um, I know you've had such a terrible one. Like I lived in London for a while, so I have a few friends there. And I was talking to one of my friends recently, and he was like, last year, he was like, yeah, they said they're gonna lock us down till Easter next year. And I was like, that's crazy. That's no way that's gonna happen. And it did. Like,
Yeah. I started to warn people in the UK actually last year, and I got a lot of people very angry at me. People take their anger out on the messenger
I know.
instead of
Yeah,
instead of realizing that instead of taking your anger out on the messengers, you should be taking your anger out on the government, because the government is supposed to work for us, not the other way around.
sure. But people have it mixed up, and well, one, they don't know their rights, and two, they think that they forget that the government works for us. Like somebody close to me said, well, they have more clout than we do. And I said, no, they don't. They've worked for us. Don't
No.
forget that. Like,
Yeah,
but then you look
exactly.
at it the other way, and you can tell that they very much don't work for us in many ways, because they work for the corporation. They should be working for us, but they don't, because they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But in a lot of cases now, like with the USA and the UK, the corporation has been dissolved. So
Right.
actually, the military are actually in control. And
Mm.
so all of this is just a storyline. It really is just a storyline. There's no actually
Yeah.
nobody in control, really.
Mm.
But the people don't know that.
It's all
Grassroots, they're not aware.
it's all in their head. Like it's an idea. Government's an idea. Money's an idea. Everything's an idea that we give power to. You know,
Yeah. And
and
it's interesting because they recently said to me that the black hats are psychologically in control, which is the fear,
yeah.
but the white hats are actually operationally in control. So they're the ones actually keeping it running on the ground. So they are actually in control. But we still have this psychological control from the black hats, which is the fear storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And the white hats are using that to their advantage when they need to get things sorted out, like maybe finish off the child trafficking tunnels and weed out those people that are
Yeah.
still sort of embedded in corporations where they need to get them out. So there's lots of this story has got lots of different layers to it. So it's sometimes very difficult to explain exactly what's going on, but you just have to look at it like an overview that the white hats, the alliance, are actually in control. However it may look, they are in control.
Yeah. It is very. Yeah. It even for people that have been following the movement or the plan or whatever you want to call it, or just following things closely, you can still say that sometimes you just don't know what to think. You're just like,
Yeah,
I want to
I
think,
know.
I want to say, I've seen way too much to say that the black hats are in control, to be honest. But then you see certain things, like we went into lockdown over one case. I'm like, for 5 days. And and this happened all around the country a little bit later, like every
Yeah,
state now has had a stupid lockdown 3 or 5 days,
yeah,
and for very little cases, like one case,
yeah.
2, 3 or 4, maybe 10. But yeah,
So it shows,
there's
doesn't
just
it,
too
that the
much.
lockdowns are nothing to do with cases. It's the lockdowns are to do with a psychological um,
Yep.
plan that
There's the
they're trying to put out to people so that they learn to say, I'm just not going to do this now. I'm not doing it anymore.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
they're trying to get
absolutely.
people to stand up.
Because it's so stupid. One case. It wasn't even a death. You know what I mean? Like
No.
it wasn't even. It was
Yeah.
one case. Like, but it's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, going off of what you and Janine were talking about in the last video that you did, there's so much happening, and I just love for you to maybe give a little brief rundown of what you see coming over the next, or in April and May.